Alireza's worst game. There was a game where he made a mistake and he lost, but Danya, to lose a game like that in that fashion, I mean, there was such a level of nervousness and tentativeness, and then to lose it in a time scramble, he's got to snap out of this ASAP. Like in every tennis match, there is a moment. That's the moment. He needs to not lose this game.
Yeah, he was up by 1. Things seemed to be going well. He won that game where Magnus played G5, and now it seems like the tide has turned by 180 degrees. Alireza took time at the right moment, right, when Magnus played Queen F6, but it seemed like he started off well and then kind of went off the rails, but still only a 1-point lead by Magnus. 22 minutes left in the first segment of the SEC Finals, and another Kings Indian. Alireza sticking to his guns, but I'm up for it.
Yes, but I just want to say, he played C6, very important move, and it was so important. If we just click back to the move C6, we don't have to analyze anything.
Yep, this position.
Yeah, it's not the best move. He's been playing A5 systems, but suddenly he puts the pawn on A6 instead. Let's go to the live board, and he's in a much worse Kings Indian than he's been. He's losing in like 14 moves.
Well, there's a simple reason in the Kings Indian that you don't want to include C6 and C takes D5, and it's because you get what makes the Benoni a dubious opening, which is a weakness on D6. So when you maneuver Knight D2 and Knight C4, hits the D6 pawn, and then Levy, you could also get B5 and Bishop A3. So the Kings Indian, the worst thing to have is this long-term weakness on D6. Let me point something else out. Even if Black plays F5 here, White's just going to ignore. White's going to go Knight D2 anyway, and that's going to open up a line of fire on the other knight on H5. This is not looking good for Alireza. You're right. He needs to stem the bleeding, but he's bleeding more profusely in this game. 14 moves in, and even as a Kings Indian stalwart for almost 2 decades, I got to admit, this is a pretty grim outcome of the opening.
Black in the Kings Indian either counterattacks with C6 at the right moment, like you said, on the queen side with some A5 stuff, or with the F pawn. He can do none of those things. This is a very tough position. And like you said, Magnus will make some improving moves. And there they go, suffocating the space on the queen side. Alireza's pieces on the king side are tripping over themselves. This is the opposite of stabilizing. He's looking at a 3-game losing streak if he doesn't get it together quickly.
And he's got to get something going on the king side. I think he is going for Knight H7, Knight G5. It's a trusty maneuver. When you give away your light squared bishop in the King's Indian, it means things are going terribly for you.
Yes, that bishop on C8 or D7 in... that's going to be it. Danya, this is not what the doctor ordered. I said it at the end of the last game. Now he's got one more game, Alireza, to stabilize. At most, he has 2.
Yeah, I think most players, they point to the 3-point lead as the big sort of defining moment. If you get down by 3 or more, you consider that a big deficit, and that's when things can spiral out of control. If you can keep it to 2 or less, you feel like you're very much in the match, and you feel like anything, can change within 10-15 minutes. He will be on that cusp. He will be down by 2 unless Magnus blunders here. Queen c6, he found that immediately.
Yes, he calculated that, and in a shocking turn of events, the best player of all time does not hang a rook. Queen goes to d4. The rooks are staring at each other. I mean, by the way, what's just to stop me from trading the rooks and maybe trading the queens as well? Or
yeah, you have to get this queen off of d4 because knight e4 is actually a big threat by Alireza.
Just queen c4, drop back, and
you could even push the other pawn, opening up another defender on the e4 square. This is
d6.
Devastating.
d6, rook b2. You as long as you don't see any ghosts, right? As long as you have queen b2 is rook b2 rather, attacking the pawn on f2, is very mildly problematic, very mildly scary.
Maybe knight d3 there, but that has to be calculated in Magnus. Again, using his time well. He has 90 seconds. I think he's basically choosing a win, and Levy, you called it queen c4 is the most clinical move. Now he can play knight f3 with tempo, and one of these pawns ought to decide the game. Maybe both of them at the same time.
Yeah, just keep pushing them. You can defend against them laterally with the black rook, but you are down too many pawns here. Yeah, I like knight f3, knight d3. Knight f3 is a very natural move. Yeah, some people might be wondering why would we lose the pawn there, because the a6 pawn is just simply too strong.
Yeah, knight f3 played, queen takes d5. You can even push a7 and probably secure that pawn with a rook, but I mean, it's easy to take all of this for granted when Magnus is doing it. If you're sitting across from white's pieces, converting these types of positions suddenly seems pretty hard. But after d6, it also threatens queen takes f7. There's too many threats, and there's no source of counterplay for black. There isn't a single target. You're basically praying that white blunders something in one move, not a winning strategy.
I don't even know how white could blunder here if he tried. Something more subtle than just straight up blundering a queen, let's say. But okay, Magnus is down to 35
Not
seconds.
on time, and Alireza, again, he's resisting, he's bending, but not breaking just yet. Maybe he just throws his rook on the second rank and goes for this f2 pawn.
Yeah, g5, of course. We saw this counterplay also created previously.
Magnus, nope. h3, shutting it all down and making some look for his king while he's at it. This one's over. Bishop to d3 is another huge problem for black.
Well,
this is grim.
What more to say? We're in the final moments here, but that's it. Wow, he just resigns. And Magnus